Erik and Lyle Menendez have been behind bars for the last 35 years. And now their long-awaited parole hearing has concluded. Both brothers, through their own separate hearings, have been denied parole for the first time. Lyle and Erik Menendez were initially sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the 1989 murders of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. They said they committed the murders in self-defense after years of abuse by their father. Earlier this year, an LA judge resentenced them to 50 years to life, making them immediately eligible for parole. During the separate parole hearings, the board is assessing whether or not the brothers are an unreasonable risk of danger to society. And in looking at those various factors, they saw that the brothers committed a very brutal murder, not just of their father, but also of their mother, shooting them multiple times and even reloading with a shotgun. They also saw that both brothers had various violations while incarcerated, like having an illegal cell phone, or fights, or possession of controlled substances. And while cell phones may seem like something innocuous, the focus on their hearing was that the criminality that allowed for those cell phones to get into the prison is what was really focused on. That it had to be smuggled in, people had to be bribed, that the money that was associated with trying to get those cell phones in oftentimes go to gangs within the prison, something that the prison and the board don't look very fondly upon. And then, of course, many people focus on the actual crime itself, but there were also crimes before the murders of Jose and Kitty. It was a collection of all of these facts that ultimately these two separate boards gave what's called a minimum denial for parole, meaning that the brothers will be eligible to see a parole board in 3 years, but could advance their case as early as 18 months. There are 3 separate avenues for the brothers seeking release. This parole hearing stems from the avenue of resentencing, where the brothers were resentenced from life without the possibility of parole to 50 years in prison, thus triggering that parole hearing. But they're also seeking what's called a habeas corpus petition. That's a fancy way of saying that the detention, or in this case the incarceration of the brothers, is unconstitutional. That's where defense attorneys Mark Garagos and others are making the argument that newfound information, that letter that was written by one of the boys and found by a family member, and information from a very popular Mexican boy band suggesting that Jose Menendez was a sexual abuser of the boys, they believe that information would have resulted in a lesser penalty at trial. But the third one, and one that's definitely hitting headlines, is clemency. That's from Governor Newsom. He can provide clemency in the form of commutation, further reducing the sentence of the brothers, making them eligible for release even today, or a pardon, giving them a full forgiveness of the crime in which they are accused of. That has some political undertows, and no one knows just yet what information the governor will take from this parole hearing to use to either grant clemency or not. Though there are multiple avenues for the brothers to get released, and in this latest bid they were denied parole, it might not be a question of if the brothers get released, but when.